All right, we're going to be looking at a couple of books today from a couple of American titans in the writing field, Ernest Hemingway and John Steinbeck. And I suppose we should give pride of place to Ernest Hemingway. The Old Man in the Sea is written in the early 50s, what people were calling the end of his career, and he came out with this short novella. And Hemingway was already a cultural icon, love him or hate him, and he had a fair selection of both who loved what he had done and hated what he had done. But the reason he's put in premier place and he stands above so many other writers of his time, Hemingway changed the language and changed the way we speak and the way we think. He showed people how to write, as he said, without the scroll work of what was the Victorian inheritance in writing. So if you want to see the difference between language before Hemingway, look at some of the short stories of F. Scott Fitzgerald. Scott Fitzgerald was very well aware that Hemingway, what he had done. As a matter of fact, Scott Fitzgerald introduced Hemingway to Scrivener's, his publisher. And so he had no small part in the rise and the popularity of Hemingway, but it was Hemingway's style, the unique combination of a journalist and a poet that was able to express things as they were happening and as they occur, and what you had in front of you, as Hemingway himself described it, versus again, the Victorian inheritance was a lot of unnecessary detail got in the way of what was being expressed. Little bit too maudlin, sentimental, or melodramatic. Hemingway cut away all that. Now, ironically, he did this in short stories that are simply searing, beautiful short stories. And many people think that Hemingway was a better short story writer. I tend to think that as well, because his short stories are peerless, and this is where he did his work of reforming the language in his short stories. But here's this late story of a very old sailor. I think you would know the story. A very old sailor who's had a run of bad luck goes out, hooks a large, what is it, a marlin, and brings it back to shore. But on the way, it's attacked by sharks, and now. So the old man has nothing but his Herculean heroic effort. And this is very Hemingway-esque. There are some, as I said, ironically, there are some parts of this that are a bit maudlin, that are a bit sentimental. And, you as I read it, I say, I can't deny that what I'm looking at is tinged with this. But at what was called the end of his career, for him to come out and do this, and to reassert everything that he had been asserting through his career, that is, write knowingly about one true sentence and so on and so forth. This is it. So he's done it again, and so that's why I would give pride of place to Ernest Hemingway over the other titans like John Steinbeck, and for that reason, that he has reshaped the language. And the others may be very good practitioners of it, but they did not reshape it. All right, second book we're looking at is John Steinbeck's Of Mice and Men, which was written in the late 30s. Of Mice and Men is really a clever and unique book. Very well written, of course. I'm sure many of you have already read this book. But it was written by Steinbeck to be what he called a playable novel. And that is, it could be used, the text itself could be used to mount a play, a one-act play, or it could be used to read as a simple novel, novella. So with the text, as you see, between the dialogue, it reads like stage direction. Now this is very clever. If you wonder why you haven't seen a lot of playable novels around, they're difficult to do. And not everybody is a John Steinbeck. And this reads very well. I have not seen this. Well, I beg your pardon. I was going to say I haven't seen it as a play. I've seen several renditions as movies, and more or less true to the book. True to the novella, of course, the story is well known. Two farm hands who support each other. One through the other comes to a tragic end, and this is full. The book is filled with pathos. You can hardly look at this and say there is a sort of a redeeming aspect of it, but moreover, it's just overwhelming as I read it. Just really pathetic, pathos-wise, and tragic. Tragic. For obvious reasons. Still, even now, I don't want to tell you what the story is, in case you didn't read it, but many of you will have read this book. So Steinbeck was another, between Steinbeck and Faulkner and Hemingway, that would be the triumvirate in American letters in the 20th century, I would say, with Hemingway first among equals, for reasons already given, that he transformed the language. But this language, Steinbeck is a beautiful writer. He understands drama, he understands timing, he is really a wonderful ear for dialogue. This is a far more technical book and far more successful than The Old Man and the Sea. And so it's, you're not comparing apples and oranges. You can look at these two books and say, this one's technically better, this one's, there's I think what Hemingway is very successful with, the old saw, writes what he knows. And what he knows is fishing, and then that's what he conveys. And he has this remarkable character throughout his novella. Well, Steinbeck did the same thing. He knew farm hands, and certainly with his book, The Grapes of Wrath, he would have known all of these people, and he did. So you've got a really strong sense, verisimilitude, appearance of reality in both novels. So I really wouldn't be able to say this one trumps the other, but excellent reading possibilities with both.